I promised myself I wouldn't do this again. Not rush, not project, not attach meaning too early. I'd learned what hope can cost when it arrives before readiness. Her name was Julia. We didn't meet through friends or work or anything that suggested permanence. We met because neither of us wanted to go home yet. It was late, one of those nights where the city feels quieter than it should. She was reading at the bar. That alone told me enough. I didn't approach her right away, not out of fear, out of discipline. I'd learned that wanting something doesn't mean you should reach for it. She noticed me before I spoke. I could tell by the way her eyes lifted without turning her head. Awareness without invitation. That felt familiar. Is it always this quiet here? She asked when I finally sat beside her. No, I said. Only when people are pretending they don't want company. She smiled, not impressed, just honest. We talked the way two tired people do, carefully, without selling ourselves. No resumes, no emotional shortcuts, just fragments. She told me she worked remotely, that she'd moved cities twice in a year, that she liked places that didn't expect her to stay. I didn't ask why. I knew better than to interrogate a pattern I recognized. When she asked about me, I didn't explain my past. I told her where I was now. That felt more accurate. We left together, not in the dramatic sense, just in the same direction. The next morning, I didn't expect a message. I wasn't disappointed when there wasn't one. That's the difference experience makes. She texted that afternoon. I liked how you didn't ask too much. I stared at the screen longer than necessary. We met again days later, then again, always unplanned, always easy. That was the problem. I'd learned to distrust ease, because ease invites repetition, and repetition creates attachment, whether you want it or not. Julia didn't demand space in my life. She fit into it. That's more dangerous. She stayed over sometimes, left early, not out of avoidance, out of respect for her own rhythm. I admired that, and quietly resented how much I noticed her absence. One morning, while she pulled on her coat, she paused. "Can I ask you something?" she said. I nodded. "Are you the kind of man who leaves," she asked, "or the kind who stays too long?" I laughed softly. "That's an unfair question." She shrugged. "Honest ones usually are." I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, because I didn't want to say it out loud yet. After she left, I sat alone with the weight of that question. I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't afraid of losing her. I was afraid of repeating myself. I'd promised I wouldn't do this again. And yet here I was, letting something in, slowly, carefully. That's when it hit me. The promises we make to ourselves are often tested by people who don't know they're doing it. I didn't know yet how this would end, but I knew one thing. Avoidance doesn't look like fear anymore. It looks like maturity. Until it didn't change after that question. That's what unsettled me. She didn't pull closer, didn't pull away. She stayed exactly the same, which meant the shift had to come from me. We kept seeing each other, still without plans, still without labels. But something underneath had tightened, like a thread pulled too far to ignore. I started noticing how often I anticipated the end, not in panic, in preparation. I'd catch myself thinking, this is where it usually shifts. This is where I should step back. Experience teaches you patterns, but it doesn't teach you when to stop obeying them. One night, weeks later, she stayed later than usual. We lay in bed, not touching. The city outside doing what it always does, reminding you that nothing waits. "Do you ever get tired," she asked quietly, "of holding yourself back?" That question landed differently, not like an accusation, like an observation. "I don't know how to tell difference anymore," I said, "between restraint and fear." She turned toward me, didn't interrupt. That mattered. "I think fear tries to keep you intact," she said. "Restraint tries to keep you honest." I didn't respond, because the truth was, I'd been calling fear wisdom for a long time. The first real conflict came unexpectedly, not over commitment, over something small. She mentioned the possibility of taking a contract overseas. Just a thought, just an option, not even a decision. I felt it immediately, that familiar tightening, the instinct to detach before being detached from. That makes sense, I said too quickly. She noticed. Of course she did. Does it? She asked. I shrugged. You've always said you don't stay long. She watched me carefully. And you've always said nothing, she replied. That was the moment the distance showed itself. Not in miles, in presence. I'm not asking you to follow me, she said. I'm asking if my leaving would even register. That hurt, because it meant she'd already felt replaceable. I don't want to need someone, I said. She nodded slowly. I don't want to be optional, she replied. Silence stretched between us, not hostile, revealing. She didn't storm out. She stayed the night, but something had shifted, not broken, exposed. The next few days were heavier, not distant, just more real. I realized something then. I'd gotten very good at being easy to be with. I hadn't gotten good at being chosen or choosing. I thought about the women before her, the patterns I'd repeated. How often I'd left before staying became vulnerable. How often I'd called it timing. Julia didn't ask for reassurance. That was the hardest part. She waited to see who I would be. A week later, she came over. No small talk. She sat across from me, grounded, calm. I need to know something, she said. Are you actually here with me or just passing through? There it was. No drama, no ultimatum, just clarity. I felt the urge to soften the answer, to buy time, to stay ambiguous. That old instinct. Instead, I did something unfamiliar. I stayed. Not physically, emotionally. I don't know what the future looks like, I said. But I know I don't want to exit quietly anymore. She didn't smile. She studied me. That means staying even when it's uncomfortable, she said. I know, I replied. And it means being seen, she added. I know, I said again. She exhaled. Not relief, recognition. I'm not asking you to promise forever, she said. I'm asking you to stop rehearsing the ending. That stayed with me, because that's exactly what I'd been doing. She didn't move overseas, not because of me, because the contract fell through. That detail matters. What mattered more was what didn't change. I didn't pull back. I didn't disappear into myself. I didn't mistake control for safety. We're still together, not because it's easy, because we're present. I don't know if this will last, but I know something now that I didn't before. Staying isn't about certainty, it's about courage. Some men leave to protect themselves. Others stay and learn who they actually are.